Uh, a very good morning and a warm welcome to all distinguished faculty members, students, and researchers participating today in this seminar. On behalf of Faculty of Physical Sciences, Institute of Natural Sciences and Humanities, Sri Ramswarup Memorial University, I, Lalit Kumar Shukla, extend my heartfelt welcome to everyone present in this webinar under our Bharatiya Gyan Parampara series. Today's webinar titled From Consciousness to Computation seeks to explore uh, the enduring relevance of Bharatiya knowledge systems in the contemporary scientific and technological landscape. The theme provides a unique opportunity to reflect upon the dialogue between ancient wisdom tradition and modern scientific thought. We are honored by the presence of our respected dean, Faculty of Physical Sciences, Dr. Rajesh Singh, whose constant encouragement and guidance make such academic initiatives possible. We are also privileged to have with us our esteemed project speaker, Dr. S.P. Pathak, sir, from Amity School of Applied Sciences, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow campus. At this juncture, I request our respected dean, Dr. R.G. Singh, sir, to kindly address the gathering and introduce our distinguished speaker to the audience. Thank you, sir. The virtual podium is yours.
Thank you, Lalit. And I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
So it's my great privilege and honor on behalf of Faculty of Physical Sciences, to welcome our today's distinguished speaker, Dr. S.D. Pathak ji. And Dr. Pathak is a theoretical physicist and cosmologist, currently serving as assistant professor in Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, Lucknow, and he obtained his PhD in cosmology and his research focus on the interacting dark energy, and has held research and teaching positions at prestigious institutions like Shandong University, China, and Lovely Professional University, India. His research interests span dark energy, black hole gravitation, quantum gravity, inflationary cosmology. I hope I am pronouncing right it, and neutrino physics. Through his research and academic contribution, Dr. Pathak has continued to explore some of the most fundamental questions concerning the nature, evolution, and underlying the structure of our universe. And the topic of today's workshop, that is From Consciousness to Computation, bridging the Bharatiya Gyan Parampara in quantum physics and information science, appears to explore the richness of Indian knowledge tradition, and which is not just a kind of historical achievement, but it's a living, you can say, framework that may still contribute the modern education, science, technology, society. So I'm sure today's session will inspire all of us to think more deeply about the relationship between the knowledge, consciousness, technology, human responsibility. So I once again welcome our esteemed speaker, Dr. S.D. Pathak ji. Thank you, sir.
Uh, thank you so much for a nice introduction and opportunity to interact with the faculties and the researcher in SRMU and out of the SRMU. So this topic nowadays is very fascinating, and the peoples are just researching the holistic development and holistic approach of the teaching learning process. So in contemporary time, this topic is the very relevant. And what are the links between the quantum physics and consciousness or the information science? That's the critically very important. So once again, thank you so much for this opportunity. Okay, so starting with the questions. So these questions, consciousness, reality, and intelligence, is there understood by the existing science or modern science? They are completely able to understand the reality, right, and consciousness. So these fundamental questions always in the all era, uh, very important, and the people struggling to develop what is the reality, what is the consciousness, right? So two types of the reality we encounter nowadays. One is called the objective reality, another one is called the subjective reality. So science particularly find out the solution and provide the existence about the objective reality, right? So the things that will be appropriate for the all kind of the observer and empirically that should be correct. That is the purpose of the science. But the consciousness, subjective reality, that is the far beyond from the existing scientific temper and scientific technology, and that is the part of the philosophy. But nowadays, the people is struggling to develop the exact science runs behind the subjective reality and the subjectivity. So they are the some set of the questions always comes in our mind, and we are looking our science or scientific theory. They are compatible to answer these questions. Few of them I just mentioned here. Not only these are, there are the other questions also exist. So observer play the fundamental role in the reality. So what is the role of the observer or the person who are measuring the things? And information more fundamental than matter. What are the fundamental? So fundamental particle we are uh, just knowing, but apart from this, consciousness considered as a fundamental entity or just emergent aspect. So uh, I will see in the further slides how we can consider the consciousness as the fundamental. And Indian philosophy, in say philosophical insight, just 2000 years back and 4000 years back. So what they are think about the consciousness, what they are think about the future science. So these questions compel us to look the far beyond the main framework of the scientific theory. So in our Indian knowledge system, it is better to say the Bharatiya knowledge tradition or the Bharatiya knowledge treasure. So natural science may reshape our understanding or mind or mental. They are providing the completely holistic approach to the understanding. So I'm trying to incorporate these three pillars of understanding. One is the quantum physics. Not I'm talking about particularly the quantum physics. This is the completely the modern science. And second is the Bharatiya knowledge tradition treasure and computational science. So these three try to leads to the purpose of these all the three pillar to understand mind, matter, and the reality. So to fix the our uncertainty and to find out the what the exactly relation between these three, mind, matter, and reality. So struggling the Bharatiya knowledge tradition, they also provide the exact link between them and what are the fundamental computational science. They are also looking for this, and the quantum physics is also providing the same approaches. So what are our perspective about the consciousness? What exactly the consciousness? So for example, suppose we are taking the cup of the coffee. So the feeling after the taking the cup of the coffee, it is the person to person completely different, right? But molecular weight of the H2O, that will be equal to 18. That is true for the all kind of the observer. But the taking the cup of the coffee and feel the pleasure after that, it is a completely different person to person, right? So what the science behind that? Why our personal feeling or the emotions, they are completely different person to person? So what the science behind that? The answer of this question not available in the modern development of the quantum mechanics or whatever the science we are looking here. So answer of these questions that of course available in the consciousness in the philosophy. So consciousness that will be appears in the several number of the Indian philosophical approaches. For example, in the Vedanta, consciousness also considered the Chaitanya. So we heard about this, the Chetana and the Chaitanya, that is the universal, and they are living in all kind of the phenomena. We always say the this person is in Chaitanya state or not, right? So in plant or everything, there will be the Jad and the Chetan. So these two words, Jad and Chetan. Chetan means there will be the some consciousness, that the feelings. And Samkhya philosophy that proposed by the uh, Kapil. So in this Sankhya darshan, Sankhya philosophy, they discriminate the two things, dualism. One is called the Purusha, and the second is called the Prakriti, nature. Nature, that means the materialistic world, and the second is the consciousness. So Jad Chetan, the concept of the Jad and Chetan, we heard everywhere, and some intellectual scholars, they are just mentioned the dualism and these things. So in the Samkhya, Kapil mentioned the word are made by the two important things. One is the consciousness, and second is the nature. So in the nature, there should be the consciousness, and the Sankhya philosophy also looking these things consistent, and yoga, that is proposed by the another giant. We have the six philosophical approach, the yoga darshan, that is the mind can be refined through the discipline awareness. Awareness here is treated as the consciousness and the observations. So awareness and the observation, that is the something related to the consciousness. And the Buddhism also, so Buddhist philosophy, they consciousness is encountered in the different way. They are connected with the perception, awareness, and interdependence. So interdependence observer rule, that will be also important. We are connected to each and everyone by the some hidden variable. So as we can see, not only these four philosophical approaches, the other philosophical approaches, they are looking for the consciousness. So the purpose in modern science to know what is the consciousness and what the theory behind that. So unfortunately, when we looking the Indian knowledge system, so there is the tug war, Indian knowledge system versus the modern science, and the modern science versus the Indian knowledge system. Which one is the better, or why we study the modern science? We are complete in our Indian knowledge system or Indian knowledge traditions. So this is actually problematic. So it's not about the versus the comparison. It is the completely about the critical engagement. So how we can engage our Bharatiya knowledge tradition with the modern science, because it's a fact. Modern science we cannot deny. No one can deny the modern development of the science and technology, and no one can deny the Bharatiya knowledge system also. Why? Because at the destruction of the Nalanda and other Indian university, they are established. So there are the a long gap. So around the 1,000 years gap in between, none of the any university established by the king and other persons. So first university and a formal education system that will be established by the Britishers in the 19th century. 1901 or 1902, the Kolkata Presidency College and Allahabad University, they are established, and they started to study the things in the proper way. So in between this knowledge treasure, Indian knowledge, they are destroy or just distributed, scattered in the different way. So this is the one problem, how to unify those all other things. We are talking about some Vedanta, the some book that will be available. So this is the requirement to do the serious research and to check the validity, is that the pure or not. So there are the different issues. So in that sense, no one can deny the Bharatiya knowledge tradition. Yes, there will be need of the research, there will be the need of the validation, and my opinion to critical engagement of the Bharatiya knowledge tradition with the modern science. So how these two will be combined together and to find out the better solution. It is not the comparison. We cannot completely cut the modern science and we are just focus the Indian knowledge system, or we cannot completely cut the Indian knowledge system and we are only believe in the modern science. No, no, there will be unification about these two. How they can be unified? How the Parini the grammatical system that will be have the new coding system and the AI and some quantum computers. So there will be need of the critical engagement. So this is actually purpose we are struggling to develop how that will be utilize these two things. Okay, so now the pictorial representation of the four philosophical approach and how they all are links by the single one Chaitanya, the consciousness. Vedanta, universal consciousness. In here, consciousness, they are considered the universal. Sankhya, there will be the dualism, Purusha and the Prakriti. Yoga, awareness. And Buddhism, interdependence. They all are leads to the Chaitanya and the consciousness concept. So, uh, as I already mentioned, the reality that will be two types. One is called the subjective reality, another one is called the objective reality. And it is also depend on the observer. So for example, if you are not observing moon, so the existence of the moon will be not affected by your observations. You are observing or not, the moon will be exist, right? You are observing or not, the phenomenon will be not affected, right? So observer centric reality, that is most of the classical theory, they are based on the non-observer role that will be not important. Quantum mechanics that taking care about the presence of the observer. So if you are not looking the photon, they just violate the different physical law, but when you are observing, all the law will be aligned together, and the best result will be comes out, right? So observer centric reality, that is the very important, especially in the quantum mechanics. But in the classical theory, especially the general theory of relativity, the observer role not very important. So you are not going to observe moon or some other celestial object, that will be not matter, the things will be exist already. So Drista, uh, that is the observer, it's a very important and a very fundamental position, especially in the Indian knowledge system. So in the Indian knowledge system, this is the very important. Who is the Drista? Who is the observer? So observer role crucially very important. Who is observing, right? So this is something related to the quantum mechanics. In the quantum mechanics, observer role is also very crucial. If you are not observing the electron destroy the so many fundamental law. But when you are going to observe, the all the law will be just fine. So observer dependent theory, quantum mechanics, in the sometimes other I will be just mention the how the quantum mechanics completely fundamentally different from the classical general relativity, and that create the problem how to unify these two. And the reality that we are experiencing, it means the subjective reality, that is the awareness. Observation itself becomes meaningful. So who are observing, who are just experiencing the reality, that is the not weak, that the very meaningful, right? So suppose you are taking the mango and some other taking the mango, both are experiencing something. So the experience between these two completely decided by who are taking, who are just aware about this or the test about this. So this the reality is not experienced by the independently of the awareness. That means the observer plays a very crucial role. Quantum mechanics, the measurement is also affected by the observer, and observer not only passive uh, things. That is the active participant in the physical process. They are completely just the physical process. So in this regard, observer very important. So the very valid questions, and these questions: does reality exist independently? So as we can see in this all discussion, observer entangled with the physical process. So the question, reality that we are perceiving, uh, uh, independently exist or not, or observer tune the reality, that is the problem, right? For example, when you are going to measure the temperature of the system, we insert the thermometer, then thermometer part of the quantum state of the system. So we are not measuring the absolute temperature. So insert then the process that also part of the situation. So in this regard, the things becomes very complicated. So the question valid is still, does reality exist independently? So we will see later, and the science will try to answer this question. So observer and the physical reality, as we can see, observer just look the things. It is the daytime, and if observer does not exist, so day will be day or it is the night. So in the classical theory, the physical reality that will be not affected by the observer, but in the quantum mechanics, what is the role of the observer, who are the measuring the phenomena, that's the very important. So reality depend on the observer, it is not a absolute. So this is the one approach. But if you change the perspective, you change your approach, the answer will be changed. So just bird's eye view how the modern physics and the modern natural science evolve. So as we can see, the classical mechanics, most of all we are aware about this. So this classical physics or classical mechanics that will be based on the one fundamental approach, that is called the deterministic law. If you know the sufficient in boundary conditions, sufficient pre-information, then you can predict exactly the future behavior of the system basis on those input. But nature of the reality in this classical mechanics, objective and predictable. So you exactly predict the what is the future of the system. That will be 100% correct in the classical theory of the physics, classical mechanics. In the relativity, the central idea, central part is space-time geometry, and space-time geometry they itself is the dynamical feature, and the space-time dynamics that will be predictable, and nature of the reality runs around space-time structure. But the quantum mechanics, it's completely different from these two, classical theory and the relativity. This is the probability and observation rule. It's a very important. So observation plays a very crucial role in the quantum mechanics, and completely different from the deterministic law. You cannot exactly predict what is the future behavior of the system, even if you know each and every pre-information. You can't predict, right? So you just say the possibility that phenomena will occur or not, right? So observer role very important. Observer centric reality that will be incorporated in the quantum theory. And information theory, that is extension of the quantum mechanics and the some more uh, abstract form. Information processing and reality that will be tuned by the information. If you change the information, your reality will be the change. And the next, nowadays we are in the baby state of the quantum computation. The peoples are struggling to develop the quantum computer that will be computer based on concept of the quantum mechanics and entanglement involved. So qubit and entanglement, they are the central idea around this. They are the developed. Not only these two, there are the others also. Von Neumann algebra also involved. So in this non-local and the computational nature of the reality, so reality that will be different flavor in the different frameworks. So who can decide which one is the absolute, which one is the correct? So again, this is the problem. So if you change your frame of the perception, your nature of the reality will be changed. So yes, the people is struggling to develop the ultimate theory in which the reality that will be completely explained by the single theory. So, but nowadays we have the different approaches. So answer will be completely different. So all the approaches, they are not leads to the one single answer. Okay. So as we can see, the last slide, the pictorial representation, how the deterministic objectivity, that is the space-time geometry, the things, everything that will be under the dynamics of the space-time. Quantum mechanics, they are taking care about the probability and the observer-dependent reality, information, entropy, information, how, which type of the information we have, and the reality according to that will be the change. And in the quantum computations, there will be no any physical link between the two system or two objects. The information can be propagated, certain hidden variables or whatever. I don't know till now. So how the information can be passed from the one system to the another system in the quantum theory, because the EPR paradox and the so many other things they are struggling to develop how this will be happens. Even the tunneling mechanism, the classically the energy of the particle that will be less than the potential barrier, but the quantum mechanically there will be the finite and the small probability the particle can penetrate the boundary and comes right hand side. But classically this is not possible. So mathematically it is correct, but it is not easy to just accept this phenomena. So what are the some variable they will be linked between these two distant objects, and how the information that will be the past. So that the different debate. So matter, information, and observer, this hierarchy already preserved. So quantum mechanics, I already mentioned the quantum mechanics changed the everything. Before the quantum mechanics, the things understand in the deterministic way. So how this will be the change the everything, because it's depend on the superposition state, superposition principle. Classically, we know the superposition, but here the superposition in regarding the states. So multiple states can be exist simultaneously, And because of this superposition approach, that's the mathematical aspect I will discuss later. I am trying to avoid the heavy mathematics and making it a little bit theoretical and uh, just a physical way, not the heavy mathematics involved here. So physical quantity become the probabilistic. Probabilistic in the sense you cannot say this will be happens 100%. We cannot say someone win the match until the match not completed. But in the quantum mechanics, they maybe there will be the high chance to win the match, but when the phenomena will be not completed, then one cannot completely claim this will be happened exactly. So this is the probabilistic approach. And classical theory, the physics evolved in the beginning, that is the deterministic approach. Observational observations measurement, that is the role of the observer, that the very important in the quantum theory, and that will be affect the outcome. They involve in the complete process, they involve in the phenomenon, and therefore the output or outcome of the phenomena that will be changed by the presence of the observers. As I mentioned, the thermometer example, measuring the temperature of the system. If you insert the thermometer, the quantum state will be perturbed and things little bit hampered, and the result will be, of course, affected by this act. So quantum entanglement, non-correlation between the distant object. That means suppose the two electron and one electron which is spin state, one is the up and another one is the down according to Pauli exclusion principle. So one the thought experiment, that is the heart of the Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen paradox. So if they are separated by the one light year and one spin state will be the change, then quantum mechanics tell us the second spin state are again changed to make these two in the anti-parallel state. So the question, how another one know the separation between the one light year, the spin state is the change by of the others. So which information convey from the one to the another. So if that will be information propagating with the speed of the light c, then after the 1 year, another companion know the spin state change of the their another friend. So how they are combined together. So if things will be information passing between these two more than the speed of the light, that will be the theory of relativity in danger. And if they are traveling with the infinite speed, so that's not good according to physics, right? So if they are traveling by the speed of the light, so 1 year they are in the parallel state, so Pauli exclusion principle also in the danger. So this kind of the thought experiment proposed by the Albert Einstein to deny the quantum mechanics. But the answer available in the Bell inequality and Paul-Band approaches. So quantum entanglement means the non-local correlation between distant objects. So although they are not physically connected, but they are affected the outcome. They are connected with the some hidden variables. So hidden variable theory, they are available in the quantum mechanics. But yes, to completely understand the quantum entanglement nowadays is the very serious challenge. So observer fundamentally important in the describing the reality. So in the itself, observer role is a very important in the quantum theory. So inside of these all the discussion, so predict the probability, this theory just telling about the possibility, and it's the completely different from the classical view of physical phenomena, classical understanding of the reality. So that completely different, because in the classical view of the reality, that is the observer role not important, but in the quantum mechanics the observer role fundamentally important. So these two things, as you can see, the superposition and the probability, it will be clear from these two things. In the classical physics, we can exactly tell us what happened after the knowing the initial condition. But in the quantum states, measurement this state and observation another state. So these two states can be lived together simultaneously in the one single state. That is called the entanglement. So reality becomes probabilistic and observer dependent. So who are observing? That is the very important. For example, as we know, the photon traveling on the straight line path. So the 2 point A and B, the photon travel the shortest distance straight line path between these 2 points. But if you're not observing, if you're not measuring the path of the photon can travel between A and B in an infinite wave. There are the n number of the wave to traveling from A to B, right? That will be not definitely straight. But when you are going to observe, so all the possibility combined together, they are collapsed together under the superposition, and one single path we are just looking A to B. So this mechanism is called the collapse of the wave function. Beautiful mathematical theory given by the Roger Penrose, how the wave function will be collapsed. And this is the key idea, basic idea behind the path integral approach developed by the Feynman. So the motto of this example I'm trying to convince role of the observer. So who are observing the phenomenon? So if you are not observing, there will be the violation of the rule. But if you are going to observe, everything will be in the perfect streamline. So this is strange, but it is the correct uh, incident in the quantum mechanics. We have to accept these all of the things. So next, measurement problem and the observer. So what we are measuring and how we are measuring. So I'm just talking about the collapse. So how the wave function will be collapsed, and this collapse of the wave function give the definite outcome. But if you are not observing, the collapse will be destroyed, and multiple outcome simultaneously exist. But when you are going to observe, all the possibility collapse together and give the one definite outcome. As we can see the path of the photon between A and B. And that definite outcome will be a straight line. So the question, why this collapse occur and how this collapse occur? So what the concrete mathematical theory behind that? How the collapse of the wave function that will be appears. So nowadays we don't have any successful theory. They will be trying to explain collapse of the wave function. But if we just look the same things in the Indian knowledge tradition or Indian knowledge system, so one can give the answer yes. You can know these all of the things. So deep conceptual questions, reality, observation, and the consciousness, the answer of this type of the question available in the Indian knowledge system. So, but the problem, the people say, if the answer is available, then why not you are giving the Indian knowledge system to the exact mathematical result of the collapse of wave function? So answer is because the 1000-year gap of the development of these all other things. Because I think 1200 or 1300, I'm not exactly remember the time when the Nalanda destroyed. There will be the series of the destruction. So in between, nothing research happens. Individual, the peoples are developing the very good science and the very good literature work, but the institutional, we don't have any established in the 900, and now it is the running state. So, but we don't have. Nalanda just completely destroyed, and the Sila also destroyed. So there is the problem. So rigorous research in the people work in the Indian knowledge system, and that they can just find out the solution. So that will be provide the miracle. That will be provide the completely surprising result, and the answer that not beyond from the modern side, and that answer available in the Bharatiya knowledge tradition. So as I my gut feeling. So the question is still unanswered. The reality measurement not only measure the participate in the creating them. So measurement or observer, they are create the reality. This is the main things. And from bits to the qubits, you already know about this classical computation that will be a work on the digital system, either high or low, 0 or 1, binary system. But in the quantum computation, that will be developed completely different from the classical approach. Superposition state, a probabilistic amplitude, quantum entanglement, quantum parallelism, quantum gates. They are the peoples, they are working in the information theory. They know about this because this is not my area of the work. So I have a very little knowledge about the quantum computation and how they are working. So theoretically, little bit understand, but the experimental level or the observation level, I have the very not aware about this quantum computation, but a fair comparison between them. These two computation system completely different from their approaches. So, fundamental than the matter. The question is information more fundamental than the matter? What is the fundamental? By the fundamental, what does it mean? So, fundamental means that can be not derived from the other existing things, right? So, for example, uh, in the beginning, Claude mentioned the matter made by the tiny particle. They are considered as the anu, right? And that is called the molecules. And after the Maharshi Kanad in the Vasilesic Darshan, that is already available, part of the sixth darshan in the Indian knowledge system. Later, the Dalton proposed their atomic model, molecules and the atom. The idea will rigorous process, and we stopped up to the quark structure of the matter and lepton structure of the matter. So leptons considered as the fundamental entity of the matter, and a lepton cannot be made by the other particle, electron and neutrino and positron, like that. And the quarks are the fundamental. Quarks are not further confined by the other particles. So they are the fundamental. The physics and the modern science, they are telling about this. But in Indian knowledge tradition or in the philosophy, what are the fundamental things? So information that can be considered as the fundamental. As we know, the John Wheeler. John Wheeler just mentioned the famous quote, "It from bit," right? So bit means information that is the fundamental, and they construct everything. In quantum state, encode the definite physical property by the bit. Black hole physics, entropy, information, the geometry, quantum entanglement, modern computation, AI. These all are the things. So matter, energy, information, right? So information, which is the energy, and energy create the matter. So information considered as fundamental. But in the Indian knowledge tradition, consciousness considered as the fundamental. It is not emergent. So although it is a bold idea and looks like the little bit speculative, but yes, consciousness fundamental. If no conscious, so and consciousness means not experience, right? It is something different. So they are treating consciousness is the fundamental, and here in the modern science they are considering the information is a fundamental, right? So this is the simple things, and matter and the particle, then energy, energy then information, and information quantum information, and everything. These two are linked with the observer and the measurement, right? So a little bit about the information theory. As I mentioned here, the information is the important. Information is the fundamental. So what is the exactly information? So in classical, first the mathematical theory about the information, what exactly information proposed by the Shannon, and he give the mathematical understanding of the information. So it is clear from this relation, Shannon entropy relation, and before that Shannon information formula, information which is equal to negative of logarithmic probability. So surprise all of you, and as we know, what is the surprise? Surprise means the things that not happens in the usual way, but they happens exactly, and we are surprised, right? So our certainty just destroyed, right? And uncertainty change into the certainty change into the uncertainty. So these are the surprise. So surprise mathematical development, the understanding of the surprise in the mathematical way, that is called the information. For the layman language, we can understand information means something that not could be happens but happens somehow, and know these all other things is called the information. So how we can surprise ना, हमें surprise हम कितना हो रहा है, उस surprise का जो mathematical understanding है उसको information से समझते हैं. So for example, जैसे अभी day time है, and someone just claim Donald Trump appears right now. So the probability of this phenomena is completely zero. So if it is completely zero, so logarithmic zero, they give the some undefined state. So we have information means a lot of the information. मतलब हम सरप्राइज हुए, हमको इंफॉर्मेशन मिला, लेकिन एक ऐसा फिनोमेना जिसके लिए हम श्योर है, सर्टेन है, वो होगा ही होगा, फॉर एग्जाम्पल अभी समर टाइम है और हमने बोला कि समर टाइम में टेम्परेचर हाई होगा, गर्मी हमें महसूस हो, तो इसका प्रोबेबिलिटी क्या है? 1 है, गर्मी होगी, पूरा मतलब है, सबको पता है. So if you put the right hand side of the Shannon information formula, information which is equal to negative of the logarithmic probability, and the probability is equal to 1, so information is equal to 0. हमें information 0 मिला. 0 information का मतलब कि कुछ मिला ही नहीं, हमें पता है, सब कुछ ऑलरेडी नो, हमने सरप्राइज हम नहीं हुए. तो जितना ज्यादा सरप्राइज हम होंगे किसी फिनोमिना का होने से, उतना ही ज्यादा हमको क्या मिलता है? इंफॉर्मेशन मिलता है, राइट. सो इंफॉर्मेशन दैट विल बी रिलेटेड टू द समथिंग सरप्राइज, एंड ये एक लेमन तरीके से इसको समझ सकते हैं. बट द मैथमेटिकली एंड द रिगरस थियरी डेवलप्ड बाय द क्लॉड सैनन and famous paper when he was in the Bell laboratory, that is a mathematical theory of communication. This paper already available free of cost, so if you're interested then you can read this one. So very heavy citation, more than 1 lakh citation of this paper, a mathematical theory of the communication. So in this paper he mentioned how to calculate the entropy. Entropy is not only the measurement of disorderness, right? It is linked with the time, linked with the reversibility of the time, irreversibility of the time, irreversible phenomena. That is everything that is related to the entropy. So Shannon entropy calculation that will be obtained by the probability distribution or probability of the information. So higher entropy, greater uncertainty, right? And after this simplifications, the result information I is equal to negative of log of E that will be derived. So we remember high entropy, greater uncertainty, and the information becomes a measurable physical quantity, right? So in this sense, information can be taken as the fundamental. So reality exists independent of the observation. So as we can see in the quantum theory, as we claim, the observer role is very important. Observer affect the nature of the reality, but reality exists independent of the observation हो चाहे ना हो, जैसे भी हो observation, लेकिन reality क्या हो रही है? Independently exist कर रही है. So digital communication, thermodynamics, ये सब में इसका example हम लोग देख सकते हैं. और ये है probability, how the probability affect the Shannon entropy, and the Shannon entropy links to the uncertainty or something related to the information. So this hierarchy, and we should remember higher entropy, greater uncertainty. This is the core principle of the information theory. So, but the same things in the quantum mechanical approach, how the quantum theory looks the information. So that is the completely different. So in the quantum information theory, superposition plays a very crucial role, and fundamental unit is qubit, and classical computation, that is a bit, and the quantum computation is qubit, and quantum bit or qubit can exist in the superposition state. So two state that will be realized simultaneously in the single state. So the Shannon entropy formula that will be replaced by the Neumann entropy, and which is equal to trace of density matrix, right? So I will just skip, because I don't want to go in the detail about the mathematics, because in the quantum field theory and uh, quantum gravity we are using these all of the things. So just conceptual understanding, matter leads to the information, and observer independent reality and observer participation reality, these two are the comparison. So which one is the correct? Matter is the fundamental or information is the fundamental? Observer tune the reality or observer not tune the reality? These are the two parallel things going ahead. And modern science tried to find out the answer, but in the consciousness or in the Indian knowledge system, the things will be not entangled. The things will be very clear. So consciousness, they are considered as the fundamental, not the information and nothing. So whatever I'm talking about this one, so it can be look from the this pictorial diagram. So classical bit, quantum state, and observer looking everything, and measurement. These two states can be exist in the simultaneously at a single time frame, that is called the entangled state. So observer independent reality and observer participation reality, these two are entangled, right? So both can be exist in the simultaneously. So classical matter and the particles, they are fundamental. Matter information centric physics or the observer centric physics. So this is the simple block diagram. So information theory, entropy leads to quantum information. That is the observer measurement, and here they are both the classical and the matter. So these all are the things. How much the time we have? So yeah,
We have no time crunch.
Okay,
We
okay,
just need it,
okay,
yeah.
okay. So okay, thank you. So a matter centric view means information centric view. So these two things. So the question is matter is fundamental or information is fundamental? And another things, neither matter nor information, both are not fundamental. Fundamental is something different. So that is called the consciousness. The Penrose orchestrated reduction observer reduction theory. In this, they are just considering the consciousness is fundamental, not the matter, neither information. So the some open questions after these all the discussion in beginning. Space time emergent from the information. Information create the space time, or space time create the information. Is the universe fundamentally computational, or it is the simple programmable, right? Or whatever the we are see, they are the because of the information, because of the computation, or it is the fundamentally completely different. Consciousness, what is the role of the consciousness? Where consciousness exist, right? How the reality, that means the subjective reality, will be fit in these all are the things, information, computation, and the matter. What about the subjective reality? So this question is still unanswered, and answer of these questions available in uh, Indian knowledge traditions, right? Vedanta, they are trying to give the answer. uh, uh, Other Upanishad, they are try to give the answer. These all of the things. The Radha Krishna, the Indian philosophy, they are mentioned. These all of the available. The further reading, I mentioned the references. So AI and consciousness. So I think last year one question asked by one my fellow. Uh, his question was, what is the moral ethics of the AI? Right. So morality and ethical concern, ethical principle we are adopting here, that will be comes from our social structure, social norms, right? And our behavior. So it is completely emergent. So where we are living, so we are living in our well structured social system, and that social system, their own ethical norms and moral principle, and these all are the come from this structure. So what is the morality and what is the ethical value of the AI? AI, artificial intelligence, they have their own understanding. So what are the ethical concerns? What are the morality? So if this will be advanced sufficiently high, then how they can acquire the moral principle and ethical value? It's a very valid question, a deep question. AI जो है ये अपना ethical principle कैसे डेवलप करेगा, राइट? अभी तो नहीं है। इसके अंदर मोरलिटी क्या होगी, और यदि ये डेवलप किया तो उसका फॉर्म क्या होगा? So answer of these questions somehow sit in the consciousness. If AI, they attain the consciousness, if they have the consciousness, then they definitely develop the ethical values and the moral principle. We have the ethical concern, we have the moral principle. Why? Because we have the consciousness. And if we are not conscious, then how we can develop these two things? And even we cannot develop the well structured our social system. So we are here because we are consciousness, right? रेन डेकार्टे भी बोलते हैं बात को कि we think therefore we exist, right? So we think means we are conscious. पेड़ पौधों के अंदर भी consciousness है. So what is the consciousness? What is the science of this? This is the major challenge, right? So intelligence is not a consciousness. Intelligence is something different. Consciousness is the something different. Consciousness is responsible for each and everything. So in this regard, one can consider the consciousness is the fundamental. And consciousness कैसे बना है? From which are the things they create the consciousness? It's the debatable questions. Somehow one can give the answer. It is the emergent phenomenon, right? बाकी सब चीजें एग्जिस्ट कर रही है, बाकी सब चीजें उसके वजह से हमारा एक कॉन्शियसनेस डेवलप हो रहा है. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है. कॉन्शियसनेस है, राइट. वो चीजें एग्जिस्ट करे चाहे ना करे, ठीक है, उसको अफेक्ट करती हैं, लेकिन उसके अलावा भी कॉन्शियसनेस एग्जिस्ट कर रहा है. सो कॉन्शियसनेस इज नॉट इमर्जेंट, इट इज द फंडामेंटल, राइट. Although it is a speculative, it is very difficult to mathematically prove it. Consciousness is the fundamental because the proof system, formal proof system developed by the Hilbert give the axiomatic approach of the any proof system, and quantum mechanics, mathematical structure of the quantum mechanics after the Hilbert developed in the formal तरीके से वो आगे बढ़ता है. वो बोलते हैं कि किसी चीज, हर चीज को प्रूव किया जा सकता है, ठीक है, अभी नहीं है तो हम बाद में प्रूव उसको कर सकते हैं. तो वैसे ही कॉन्शियसनेस एक फंडामेंटल है. क्या इसको मैथमेटिकली हम प्रूव कर सकते हैं? तो अकॉर्डिंग टू हिल्बर्ट, यस, वन कैन प्रूव. अभी नहीं प्रूव हो रहा है, लेकिन बाद में इसको प्रूव किया जा सकता है. बट हियर इन द Indian knowledge system, Indian philosophy, they just tell us it is no need to prove. इसको प्रूव करने की जरूरत नहीं है. You can only feel it, right? So Orch-OR theory proposed by the Roger Penrose, in which they are taking care about this scientific framework. बहुत अच्छा सा उनका एक पेपर भी आया था. अभी हालांकि पूरी तरह से एस्टेब्लिश नहीं है, लेकिन एक बोल्ड आइडिया है उनका. उसको भी मैंने मेंशन किया है आगे. उसको पढ़ सकते हैं, फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट अवेलेबल है वो, ठीक. सो दिस ओपन क्वेश्चंस नाउ, ओपन प्रॉब्लम nowadays still very relevant. Can computation alone produce the consciousness experience? ये अभी भी क्वेश्चंस ओपन है, and people finding the solution of these questions. And AI and the consciousness, as we can see, artificial intelligence, they work on the computation data and algorithm. If they don't have the data, then AI not create the raw data, right? Consider one thought experiment. The AI working on here, chat GPT or whatever the platform, if they don't have the any data, so it is possible to AI create the raw data? So answer is no. AI need data, some algorithm and computation technique. After this, they can give the best result. But in case our brain, they are a little bit different. They are working via the neurons, dynamics, emergence. We are looking the things, decoherent data comes in our brain process it and optimize results they are providing, right? So these everything, biological brain, artificial intelligence leads to the consciousness, and they taking care about the subjective experience. So one can do this exercise. Exercise means these things. If we can ask the chat GPT or AI platform, are you feel it? Are you experience it? So let us see. Answer will be very interesting. यदि हम उससे पूछे कि आपको हम एक मैंगो दें और मैंगो को खा करके आप कैसा फील करते हो, आप इसको कैसे बताओगे? सो द आंसर ऑफ द चैट जीपीटी, ऑफ कोर्स दैट विल बी डिफरेंट. वो बोलेगा कि मैं एक मशीन हूं, मैं इसको नहीं बता सकता. लेकिन बात यहाँ पे खत्म नहीं होती है. जब वो सोच सकता है, सोच रहा है, प्रोसेस कर रहा है एल्गोरिदम के बेसिस पे, तो इसको बता क्यों नहीं पाता? तो क्वेश्चन विल बी जस्ट वैलिड एंड स्टिल अनआंसर्ड. इज कॉन्शियसनेस कंप्यूटेबल? यदि कॉन्शियसनेस है, सारी चीजें कॉन्शियसनेस इसके पास लेके जा रही है, तो उसको हम लेकर के वर्कआउट कर सकते हैं क्या? एक अपने मैथमेटिकल फ्रेम में कॉन्शियसनेस को वैसे इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकते हैं क्या जैसे अलजेब्रा या सेट थ्योरी के फॉर्म में करते हैं, राइट? ग्रुप थ्योरी डेवलप करते हैं, इनर प्रोडक्ट स्पेस को डिफाइन करते हैं, लीनियर वेक्टर स्पेस को डिफाइन करते हैं. तो क्या कॉन्शियसनेस प्रोडक्ट को भी हम क्या कोई अलजेब्रा या फिर क्या मैथमेटिकल स्ट्रक्चर डेवलप कर सकते हैं? सो दिस इज द वैलिड क्वेश्चन. बट no one can deny the consciousness, no one can deny the subjective experience, right? So somehow the biological brain also work like the AI. So only the difference, we also need the data, and those data comes in your brain by the sensory organ. We can smell, we can speak, we can listen, we can see. So in this way, lot of the number of the data comes in our brain. Our brain biologically process all the data, and after that they give the some results. We are saying this is the rational or this is the irrational. So the feel of the rational or irrational discrimination from where comes out? It is comes out from the emergent phenomena. बचपन से हम लोग हैं, सिखा दिया जाता है इंडियन अभी कॉन्टिनेंट्स में हम लोग हैं कि लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में हमें चलना है, राइट हैंड साइड में चलना नहीं है. क्यों? क्योंकि राइट हैंड साइड में गाड़ियां आती हैं, लेफ्ट हैंड साइड में हमको पैदल चलना है. So if the something that violate this rule, our brain just give the signal, no, no, it is wrong, it is the radical, right? It is the irrational. Why irrational? Why radical? It is because of our emergent phenomena. हम जिस सोसाइटी में जहां पे रह रहे हैं, बाकी सारे एक्शंस की वजह से ये हमारा एक परसेप्शन डेवलप हुआ. हमने एक रूल बनाया, उस रूल को ब्रेन ने अडॉप्ट किया और अडॉप्ट करके पैटर्न को रिकॉग्नाइज करके हमें एक ऑप्टिमाइज रिजल्ट को दिया. So same things artificial intelligence, there will be certain algorithm, डेटा उसके पास है, कंप्यूटेशन करने की टेक्निक्स है, उनके बेसिस पे, उस एल्गोरिदम के बेसिस पे हमें क्या चाहिए एक आंसर दे करके लेकर के वो देता है. सो मैकेनिज्म ऑलमोस्ट सेम, but nowadays the peoples, they are trying to replace these two, biological brain and AI. There should be no difference, they are struggling. So the question is same here, what about the consciousness? यदि दोनों चीजें हैं तो कॉन्शियसनेस क्या है? अभी भी आंसर वैसे ही है, सब्जेक्टिव रियलिटी, सब्जेक्टिव एक्सपीरियंस का साइंस अभी निकल के नहीं है. सो हाउ द सब्जेक्टिव रियलिटी, सब्जेक्टिव साइंस दैट कैन बी understood by the existing approach, or we have to create some other theory? So let us see. So limit of the computation, the human awareness. So there are the certain limitations. Computer things को manipulate कर सकता है. They can compute the data, symbols and the data, but does not truly understand the meaning. The meaning they cannot be understand. AI system or machine system, they all will be the confused in the ambiguity sentence. जैसे कोई बोलता है कि राम प्रसाद खा रहा है, तो यहाँ पे दो चीजें निकल के आ रही है. राम is a noun and they are eating something, prasad, right? राम प्रसाद खा रहा है, राम कोई नाउन है, वो प्रसाद खा रहा है. और एक ये भी हो सकता है कि राम प्रसाद टेकन एज द नाउन, राम प्रसाद नाम का कोई व्यक्ति कोई चीज खा रहा है, that will be not mentioned. So this ambiguous sentence that will be not resolved by the machine.
सर आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही?
Sorry.
सर एक रिक्वेस्ट है कि हम लोग को जो सेशन है वो 1 बजे तक के लिए शेड्यूल है. तो
अच्छा अच्छा, I'm trying to compile quickly. No.
It is very interesting session, but this
No. I will try. It's almost completed.
Okay.
So these all are the some limitations of the human awareness and the computations. So the main things, understanding the consciousness may ultimately require the new scientific principle, or we have to create the new scientific theory to understand completely the consciousness. So I was talking about the Penrose-Hameroff orchestra reduction theory, and this theory telling about the consciousness, and this consciousness comes from the quantum mechanism, right? Quantum theory. So orchestra's quantum process occurs in the neural microtubules. So this neural microtubules not still detect. So these are the responsible for the subjective reality or subjective experience, and they are completely the quantum mechanical process. So objective reductions. So quantum state produce the consciousness moment. So consciousness, they are consequence of the quantum process that will be occurs at the neuron level and inside the neuron. So this theory is known as the orchestral objective reduction theory, and published in 2014. The journal name, the Physics of Life Overview. This paper is free of cost available, open access. So if you're interested, then one can read it. So in this idea, consciousness may consequence of the quantum process proposed by the Stuart and the Roger Penrose. Brain may perform the non-computational quantum processing, and that is leads to the consciousness, right? So, but the questions is still here, open questions after this theory also. Can quantum coherence survive in this brain? This is the one thing. Decoherence occurs. Is consciousness computable? Is still this question alive? And space-time, how the space-time affect the cognition? So these are the question now open, unanswered. So how the orchestrated objective reduction theory works. So space-time geometry and objective reductions leads to the consciousness experience. Similarly, another approach according to orchestrated reduction theory, neural microtubes, quantum coherence, quantum superposition, objective reduction. So objective reduction is a common in these two approaches, either neural microtubules or space-time geometry. So these all are lead to the consciousness experiences. So this is the fundamental or the purpose to resolve it. And similarly, IKS system in the Indian knowledge system, Vedanta view the consciousness as the Chaitanya, which is the fundamental, and also quoted by the Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan in their book, Volume 1. And Sankhya philosophy, this will be completely different. These two are the fundamental, Purush and the Prakriti. And observer is fundamentally important. They can tune the reality. Awareness is not a fully reducible to the matter. Awareness is the important, that is from the yoga, and reality is experienced through the consciousness itself. So without consciousness, reality completely hampered. Reality cannot be understood. So consciousness is fundamental in this regard. We can only feel it, right? We can no need to prove it. So how the unify these all are unification toward the unified vision of the reality. So matter, information, and consciousness. We have to uh, develop the theory in which the consciousness is taken as the fundamental, and the complete mathematical approach will be there. Right. Once एक second. हाँ सर, मैं आ रहा हूँ अभी बस. हाँ, 5-10 मिनट में आ रहा हूँ. हाँ ठीक है. हाँ हाँ, आई. Right. So, okay. So, toward the information and the conscious framework. So, how to unify these two? Physics layer and Lagrangian of the physics, matter, energy, and space-time. As we know, information layer, information entropy developed by the Shannon will be developed. But in the conscious layers, consciousness motivated from these same things, observations and awareness. So reality, which is the function of the matter, information, and the consciousness. But in the physics, the formal framework, which is the matter, energy, space-time. But we have to develop in the unified conceptual direction that we propose here. I guess matter, information, and consciousnness. And the path will be physics, information, and consciousness. That is the appropriate to information and information to the conscious or just reverse order. So the same things which I was discussed here, that will be the pictorial diagram. What are the pathway, how to find out the ultimate reality, ultimate principle. So physics, reality, matter, energy, either from here, or information, entropy, and qubit, and then just comes to the consciousness. And finally, each and every approach it leads to the unified reality, future scientific paradigm. So this is the ultimate purpose up to the develop these all the things. So future direction and some open questions. So future direction, we have to develop the new scientific theory that will be based on the existing physics, means natural science, information, and the consciousness. Consciousness play the important role, and after this we have to develop the new scientific theory. And in this new scientific theory, of course, the Indian knowledge system or Indian knowledge tradition that will be unified with the critical way of the modern science, and critical engagement will be essential. And therefore, in future, we have to develop this new scientific paradigm that will be a unification approach. So, I'm just going to conclude here. Quantum mechanics basically transform our understanding of the reality in the sense of the observer. Information theory in the sense of the quantum computation, and AI just give the answer of those questions very quickly, right? Regarding the cognition and consciousness experience. But in our Bharatiya knowledge tradition, provide the holistic approach, uh, philosophical insight into the consciousness, why we are exist, what are the peaceful for the rest of the world, how other can be survive in this universe, not only think about the self, right? So this is the completely holistic way of the understanding, that is the Bharatiya knowledge tradition. It is the first time rest of the all these all are taking care about the only one thing, but only the Bharatiya knowledge tradition they are presenting the holistic approach. So the future may require the synthesis of the physics, computers, and consciousness, and give the new scientific theory that will be completely taking care about all existing approaches, and possibly they give the uh, logical answer of subjective reality. So the next scientific revolution may emerge from the understanding the deeper unity of the mind, matter, information, and consciousness, right? So these are the some selected books for the further study. It's a very important book, Roger Penrose, available in the market, Emperors of the New Mind. And I was talking about this mathematical foundation of the quantum mechanics, Newman. And if we have the time, Upanishad and the Advaita Vedanta text, they are also very good for study. So thank you so much for open questions and the discussions. So please, if questions, then I will be very happy to answer. So,
Thank you so much, sir, for your enlightening and thought-provoking lecture. Your insights on the relationship between consciousness, Bharatiya knowledge system, and
yeah,
contemporary computational perspectives have provided us with much to reflect upon and explore further.
AC बंद कर दीजिए.
I'm, I'm sure the audience have greatly benefited from this engaging discourse and gained valuable perspectives on continuing relevance of ancient wisdom into the scientific landscape. We are running very short of time, so we don't have much time to take questions. Actually, बहुत सारे बात आपसे करना चाह रहे हैं. बहुत सारी कुछ कुछ चीजें पहले पढ़ा हूँ मैं. कुछ अद्वैत वेदांता काफी रिजोनेट करता है जब क्वांटम से और ये कॉन्सेप्ट स्टडीज को पढ़ते हैं. लेकिन वो कभी किसी और दिन शायद समय होगा तो हम लोग बात करेंगे. मैं आपको कुछ ईमेल से कम्युनिकेट भी करना चाहूंगा. और अब लास्ट में 1-2 मिनट है. मैं चाहूंगा कि आगे सर कुछ रिमार्क किया, कुछ कंक्लूजन कह दें. हम लोग क्वेश्चन आंसर तो करने के टाइम में नहीं है.
जूम का थोड़ा टाइम बाउंड का एक कंस्ट्रेंट है, इसलिए मैं जस्ट यही कहूंगा कि हम लोगों ने जो क्वांटम कंप्यूटेशन का कोर्स अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी में लॉन्च किया है सर,
जी सर,
उसको लकीली मुझे ही मौका मिला उसको कंडक्ट कराने का. तो उस दौरान बहुत सारा मैंने जो पढ़ा, आज आपका टॉक बिल्कुल उसी के साथ अलाइन था. मेरे बहुत सारे वॉयस थे जो आपके आंसर मुझे मिले यहाँ पर. इट वाज लाइक कनेक्टिंग द डॉट्स, एंड hopefully in future we will discuss this in much detail. Thank you sir, thank you for accepting our invitation. Thank you sir.
Thank you sir, thank you so much sir. मैं ये स्लाइड शेयर कर दूंगा.
Okay sir.
Thank you sir. Okay, so we are concluding this session, and I hope everybody who is a part of this webinar must have enjoyed and learned a lot of things. थैंक यू सो मच सर. और हम चाहेंगे कभी आगे और भी हम आपके साथ जुड़ेंगे और बात करेंगे इस विषय पे. हम लोग काफी एक्टिवली इन सब चीजों को थोड़ा एक्सप्लोर भी कर रहे हैं. हम लोग मैं हूँ, हाजी सर हैं, हम लोग इस सब पे काफी कुछ बातें करते रहते हैं. तो अभी आपसे सुना तो सच में काफी इनलाइटनिंग है, बहुत अच्छा लगा. ठीक है सर, फिर जुड़ेंगे तो बात बात ही. थैंक यू सो मच.